بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله وحده الصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وبعد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First, the patient does not know that he is patient. Second, its upshot is not visible in this world, unlike diseases of the bodies, whose consequence is real death. And what is after death is invisible. Thus, you see, one depends on Allah's favors with regard to diseases of the heart, while he endeavors in treating physical diseases without dependence. Third, the incurable disease, which is losing a physician. Physicians are scholars and they are diseased in this era. Most physicians are overtaken by seeking vanities of this world. Consequently, they cannot warn people against diseases lest they should be replied, do you enjoy having treatment and forget to practice it yourselves? That's why the incurable disease prevailed and having treatment came to an end. If it is said, what is the way a preacher should follow in the way of preaching with the people? We can reply that it is an intensive subject which cannot be covered, but we indicate here the useful methods which can be employed to untie the knot of insistence. There are 4 methods. Then we discuss them later on. So the second one is its upshot is not visible in this world. Why a person gets involved into the sin and is not too much concerned about the tawbah? The reason is in terms of physical disease. Whenever we are afflicted with any sort of physical disease, we can feel it, we can experience it, because it is instant. Its outcome is instant. Its consequence is instant. It's prompt and can be felt very easily. On the other hand, when a person performs a sin, its consequence, though I have mentioned this before, that physically we cannot see anything, but the instant punishment of committing the sin is state of restlessness. We will not find any sinful person after committing the sin finding the tranquility in the heart. Not possible. The moment you cross the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you cannot find the solace of heart. You cannot find peace of mind. That is deadly impossible. As the solace of heart, the peace of mind lies in remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in observing the limits of Allah, not in crossing the limits of Allah. However, still, if a person commits a sin, there's nothing we can see that any physical change occurs. No physical change occurs. But on the other hand, when a person is afflicted with a disease, with a physical disease, that can be experienced. When we see a sick person, from the face we can learn that he's suffering from some disease. But as far as a sinful person is concerned, yes, the other scholars, they can feel, they can have this, though the ilmul ghaib is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah knows only the knowledge of unseen, but still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the pious people with the ilham, with the intuition that they can have a kind of smell that though they cannot say this with certainty, as I said before, that ilmul ghaib or the knowledge of unseen is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the scholars, but the pious, truly pious scholars who are very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they can feel from the body language of a person that he is a bit away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what we do, what is our approach? When a person indulges into the sinful activities, then you say, oh, Allah is Ghafur Rahim, without taking precautions, without realizing that he's patient and he needs a proper treatment for this. In terms of bodily diseases, in terms of physical ailments, what is our approach? We don't put it on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We seek this consultation of the respective expert. and specialist. We are very precise. We are very, what you call, cumulative. We don't go, if we feel the problem in the heart, we don't go to the neurologist. If we feel problem in the eye, we don't go to orthopedician. So whatever problem we feel, we seek the consultation of the same expert and specialist. That's our, and besides making dua, besides asking others to make dua for us. But as far as the path of treatment is concerned, there is no negligence on our part. However, in terms of commission of sins, there's a disease, which, as we have discussed before, is a disease. And we never try to just find out the expert and specialist for this disease. And who are the specialists of these diseases? Is the scholars, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed with the knowledge, blessed with the methodologies, how to deal with our nafs ammara, how to deal with nafs lawama, how to overcome the seductions of shaitan, how to prevent ourselves, how to protect our parts of body from all forms of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they know because of the knowledge. They have the knowledge of it. But the problem is, the first and foremost problem, there's a point first. The patient does not know that he is patient. We feel in the smallest, the least of all physical diseases is just having the fever. We feel it when we have the fever. So yes, we say we need to take some paracetamol. We need to take some medicine. And now, depending upon the nature of the disease, the quantum of the disease, if it is more grave, then we are terrified. So we rush to the doctor. But have we adopted this approach for our spiritual diseases? Not at all. Once in a while, that too, at the peak, we just call a scholar, and then we don't seek the suggestions regarding this. Yes, we seek the suggestion in terms of the inheritance, in terms of other things. Mm-hmm. But as far as the diseases of the heart are concerned, it's still not taken care of, which is of immense importance. As physical disease, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, Hafiz Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, was a famous scholar. He says that there are two types of diseases: diseases of heart and diseases of body. He says diseases of the body, even if doesn't taken care of, though we have to take care of it. If he says that if the proper treatment doesn't reach to it, what will be the ultimate consequence?
Die.
We will die.
Death.
Simple. Death is the evidence. Death is the outcome. But he says that if our diseases of the heart are not taken care of, then what will happen? Death of Iman, death of physical body, and death of Iman. Which is more important? Death of Iman. Because death of physical body, a person was supposed to live for few decades more, and he won't be able to live for few decades more. But as far as the death of Iman is concerned, it stretches to the millennia together. Millions and billions of years, which we are supposed to observe after our death. It is a death of destruction of whole hereafter existence of a person. So what we do, whenever we feel even the cold or anything else, we rush to the doctor. But all the diseases of the heart, we are negligent about it. We don't pay any attention towards it. And then we think we are special people. That's why Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah wants us to take strong note of it. We take a strong note of it that the consequence of diseases of the heart are harsher than the consequences of the disease of the body. And the third one, the incurable disease, which is losing a physician. Subhanallah. You imagine a patient in the hospital is afflicted with many diseases, and there's no one to take care of. There is no one to treat. What shall be the fate of that patient? He will die miserably, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why? Because the expert, the physician, he knows how to deal with different sorts of, even if an injured person is taken to the trauma room, is taken to the emergency of the hospital. So the doctors, they find out that he's having the cold, he's having the fever. And then there's also the flowing blood from the wound. The sign of the good doctor is that what he will take care of first?
The fever.
The fever, and then
The bleeding is more important if it's bleeding.
So if he ignores the bleeding and he's now treating the fever, it's a sign that he's not an expert. He's not a skillful doctor. Rather, he's just a man in the appearance of the doctor, having no knowledge of the treatment. Because the ailments vary from, the nature of the ailments vary from one ailment to other ailment. Sicknesses vary. The one whose full body is bleeding and the one who is having only fever, there's a hell of difference between the two. The doctor his job is to find out the lesser sickness and the more important, the grave sicknesses. Then he has to address the grave sickness, the chronic diseases. Now you imagine a person is afflicted with different forms of diseases and there is not a single doctor in the hospital. So he will die a miserable death. In the field of diseases of the heart, who are the specialists? Who are the physicians? Who are the doctors? It's the ulama. And unfortunately, Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah talks about his own era. And it is not any way different than that of ours. Though here is a difference of 1,000 years. Almost complete 1,000-year difference between the era of Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah and as that of ours. But Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah gives a description of the scholars that time. And I don't find there is much difference now. And even the things are more worse. Those who appear to be scholars, I don't say all, but a good chunk among them, they are afflicted with the disease of the dunya. They have the love of dunya. They use their religion, they use their knowledge to gather more and more wealth. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to make us among such people. And make us among such people whose job is to connect the hearts of the people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of Allah. And they don't want anything from the people. And they're all aspirations, they're all needs they put before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Al-Ghazali says, rahimahullah, most physicians are overtaken by seeking vanities of this world. When the doctor himself is afflicted with the diseases, how can he cure others? When he is himself about to die, how can he infuse new life into others? When he loses the hope to survive, how can he be a hope for others to survive? That's what Imam Al-Ghazali says, rahimahullah. Most physicians are overtaken by seeking vanities of this world. Consequently, they cannot warn people against diseases lest they should be replied, do you enjoy having treatment and forget to practice it yourselves? Simply, when you say people that you don't get engaged with the dunya in such a way that you forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when then on their part, they are doing all their best, using all their potential in order to gather vanities of this world, luxuries of this world. Then how come they say to the people? Now what they do, they try to justify it. And they come down, they step down from the level Allah had given to them, Allah had blessed them with. They say there's no problem. Yes, Islam doesn't Islam doesn't warn us, Islam doesn't stop us from such things. It is all mubah. But this mubah, as we know, many a times, mubah means permissible. It's all permissible, there's nothing wrong with it. But slowly, and gradually they are getting away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and closer to the things of this world. Then they just try to justify their own actions. And then they cannot say, even if they see people, they are fully immersed into the vanities of this world. They cannot say anything to them. Because people can easily say to them, أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ. That's what happened to the people of the book. That's what happened to the scholars of Jews and the Christians. They were enjoining people of doing good, practicing taqwa. But on the other hand, themselves, they were corrupt people. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that this was one of the diseases with the scholars of people of the book. And unfortunately, this disease have also afflicted the scholars of this ummah. أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ. Do you enjoin people of performing good and you forget yourself? وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ, and you recite the book, you have the knowledge of the book. If it were the people who were not having the knowledge of the book, then we could say, yes, they are ignorant people, they don't have any knowledge about it. But you are the knowledgeable one. وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ. Allah makes it all clear. You recite the book, you have the knowledge of the book. In spite of having the knowledge of the book, still you indulge into these diseased activities. So people can easily say to them. That's why it's very important for the scholars, specifically, though for all people, but specifically for the scholars, because they're the role models for the public, for the people. People see their approach, their behavior. And if the scholars are afflicted with this disease of dunya, then how can we blame the people of dunya who don't have any knowledge of deen? That's what Imam Al-Ghazali says, rahimahullah, that they are diseased in this era. They are diseases in this era. That is scholars. And that's why the incurable disease prevailed and having treatment came to an end almost. So we don't find, when there is dearth of physicians, dearth of doctors, lack of doctors in the hospital. Just very recently, during the pandemic, what happened? I remember Dr. Fawzia told me that we ran short of the doctors and we're short of all the facilities. So what shall be there? And who has to bear the burden of this? It's the public, the patients. They will die without getting the treatment. When the doctors themselves are diseased, when the physicians are paralyzed, afflicted with the disease, then how come the patients will be cured? How come the patients will be treated? That's what Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah says, that the physicians themselves have been afflicted with this disease. So it is very important for the scholars, specifically those who are engaged with the da'wah, that they have to make a difference between the common people and them. Though I don't say that getting wealth through the lawful means is haram or it is unlawful, it's not permissible. But most of their activities, most of their efforts should be to guide the people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the best ever job Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bless a person with. The best ever job. Thing we need to remember one important issue, and that is we have two jobs in dunya. One in terms of dunya, one in terms of deen. In terms of dunya, we have to support our family, we have to look for our livelihood, because we are dependent beings, we need certain things of this world. So we have to ensure it through halal and lawful means. That is job pertaining to dunya. And more important job which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has entrusted us with, and that is job of guiding people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's no any job that can take precedence over it. There's no any job that can supersede it. It's the best ever job Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless a person with. And for this, a person necessarily does not need to be a scholar. Yes, whatever knowledge we have, whatever knowledge we gain, we acquire, we have to disseminate it with other people, trying our best through our practices, through our behavior, through our treatment with the people. So they must realize a difference. They must feel a difference. Yes, there is a difference. And that's our job. Many a times, my friends, they ask about what I'm doing. I said, in terms of what? What job you're talking about? Because I do two. I have to do. I'm entrusted with two jobs. Which job you talk about? I know that usually they say in terms of dunya. I know this, but to make them realize, it's not the only thing we are created for. It is just to satiate our stomach, just one morsel. And there can be many professions that we can get the money. And the basic objective of job of dunya is to ensure that we live a comfortable life on the planet. But that's not the job. That's not the only thing we're created for. That's one of our means to survive. The thing we are created for is another job. That's a responsibility upon this ummah. That's a responsibility upon everyone. And that's a true job, and job of guiding people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses ulama and scholars for this. Now you imagine if after choosing, a person has been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this specific, this respectable job, and then he uses this job, he uses this specific way to gather the wealth of dunya, forgetting about the akhirah, gaining the popularity among the people. And while going online, watching how many views are there, how many likes are there, is all absurd, all useless or thriftless. There will be no reward for such people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and make us among such people whom Allah is pleased with. Ameen Ya Rabb. So therefore, and there's no lack of such scholars in our era. We can also find out that how the knowledge of deen is being misused by the people. How people are befooled. As we know that the common sentiment is all attached to the religion, to the deen. But how it is being exploited by the people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us at all steps and all moments of our life. Ameen Ya Rabb. That's what Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah, he makes it clear that that's why the incurable disease prevailed and having treatment came to an end. If it is said, what is the way a preacher should follow in the way of preaching with people? You can reply, it's a vast subject, intensive subject. It's a vast subject that cannot be covered over here. But we indicate here the useful methods which can be employed to untie the knot of insistence. There are 4 methods. Now you see the depth of Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah. So his deep understanding of the human nature, his deep understanding of the society, and his deep understanding of the different classes of the society. And on top of it, his level of scholarship, he identifies the disease, then he also knows the solution for this. That's the beauty of Imam Al-Ghazali's scholarship, rahimahullah ta'ala. So what I understand out of it, so if we don't know the reason or the cause of the disease, does it mean that we have the solution for this?
We don't know the cause, cannot treat lah.
Yes.
We don't know the cause, we cannot treat.
That's my point actually. When we don't know the cause, idiopathic means reason not known, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And
correct. Reason not known. Correct.
Reason not known. When we don't know the reason, when we don't know the cause, then how can we treat it properly?
Yeah.
That's my point I wanted to make.
Yeah,
And
you're right.
and that's what actually Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah says. But Imam Al-Ghazali is such a surgeon, such a specialist. He knows the causes and then he also knows the solution for this. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.